Hello and welcome to Shop Talk with Dan the Man. In today's video, we're going to explore this, the RIDGID 10-inch sliding miter saw. Stay tuned to find out more. Hello, if you're new to this channel, my name is Dan Shannon. I enjoy woodworking as a hobby and being out in the shop. On this channel, dive deep into my shop as we explore tools and tool reviews, as well as chatting about everything related to woodworking. If this grabs you by the tool belt, please subscribe to my channel if you want more videos like this. Hello and welcome to Shop Talk with Dan the Man. Today's video, we're going to go over this RIDGID sliding miter saw. So this is model number R4210 and this is their 10-inch version. So there's two models of this. There's a 12-inch and a 10-inch, and the difference is your blade height. So one takes a 12-inch blade and the other takes a 10-inch blade. So what would that change on this particular unit? If you're cutting a bigger piece of wood, it would give you more depth. So from the bolt to the bottom is only so many inches, and on a bigger blade you could get that extra little bit of wood cut. But for me, the odd time that happens, I'll just flip the board around and do another cut. So for me, a 10-inch is perfect. So without further ado, let's dive into some features. Okay, I'm going to show you some features up here on the top of the saw. So you're going to notice here, there's your trigger. So there's also a little safety release. You got to push that in and then pull the trigger. It just helps you so it's locked without that safety pushed in. So that's the handle part. Up from that, you'll notice there's a switch here. What that is it's an LED light that activates when you turn your switch on. The LED light is located here. So when it shines down along the blade, which gives you a shadow. And so instead of a laser, it gives you a shadow on your board. Well, what that does is two things. It gives you your cut line, and it also is beneficial for, instead of a laser, it can never fail. It always is lined up perfectly because it follows the shadow of the blade, whereas the laser ones you have to adjust. So that's a great idea that RIDGID came up with, I think. You'll also notice on the side here, so there's two round, you can unthread them, and these are your brushes for your motor. So as they get older, as your machine wears out the brushes, you can just back these out and replace your brushes. So moving forward towards the back. So let's go over a few of these. There's two features here. The first feature is a pin. You pull it towards yourself. It'll raise and lower the blade. So right now it was in the lock position, which you push in on, and then to unlock it, you just pull it away and it'll raise the blade of the saw. Now, this particular setting here, if you have your blade down, you notice there's a threaded bolt and there's a piece here that'll come out. Well, the goal of that is to slide that out, and it's a stopper. So as you can see, there's a gap between the bottom track and your tooth. So depending on what you're cutting, if you slide it back, if you're doing dados, it'll actually bring the blade down to the desired height to cut out your dado. So that's a really great feature depending on your height. So you can adjust it by unthreading this bottom plate, setting up your stop block by pulling that ahead, dropping it down. You have your height. If you want it lower, you just back out your threaded bolt, bring it down until you reach the desired height, and then you lock this piece in again. So it's a two-piece system that will ensure that you have the proper height for your dado cut. So that's one feature that's very beneficial if you're doing dado cuts. If you don't have a dado blade system for a table saw, you can do it here on this sliding miter. So if we go a little bit further, I will press that button back in. It's a little peg, and lock the head. So let's go to the back part of the saw. There's a few features on the back side. I'm going to remove this sawdust bag for now so you can get a full view of everything. So you're going to notice here there is a degree, so you're 45. This whole unit will swing on either side of that 45 to give you your bevel. So in order to get your bevel, you're going to have to move your side plates. So this is a little interesting how they have this set up. It works amazingly, and I'll give you a little show of how that works. So if you want to do a beveled cut, a full beveled cut, you're going to have to bring your side fence, which is here, all the way out. So right now it's furthest in. There's a bolt on the back right here that you have to loosen, and then that whole fence will slide out to its furthest point, and then you tighten that back up again. So what that allowed was, and it even has a note here on the fence, it says move slider fence before adjusting bevel angle. So now that that is in the right spot, you'll notice very quickly when you bring this machine down to the proper bevel, this is no longer in the way for your clearance. So you need to make sure that the clearance is there. So in order to change your bevel, it's pretty straightforward. You loosen this back knob, so that takes it out of being locked in, and then there's a little dial here, and you just move that up, and then your whole saw will pivot downward. So that's the furthest angle. That's the 45 that the saw will go in. So as you can see there, the angle that it's in, it's pretty well lying down, and there's nothing to catch it as you slide your saw. This cable sometimes will get in the way, but you don't have to worry about that too much. So there's your saw. It's at the 45 pitch, and of course to change that back again, you just put that switch on the back, you push it in, this whole thing will lift up, and once you get it to where you want it, it just locks in place, and then you tighten it back up again. So it goes up to the 45, and what's great about this saw compared to, I haven't really used many other ones, but this saw you can do that same bevel on both sides. So we'll give you a little close-up there. So it's 45, and then on the other side it's 45. So it works for both sides and both fences. So this one's all the way out, so if I wanted to go on this side, I would have to do the exact same thing. So I'd take the adjustment knob back here, I would loosen it, slide this fence to where I need it, tighten it up, and then that would give me the same bevel on the other side. As you can see, 45 would be your max. There's a couple other features on the back side. They have this is called base crown setting. So if you're doing crown molding, all you need to do is push this lever ahead, slide your saw back until it stops, and then tighten it. And that's it. So it's ready to cut crown molding. It's the perfect setup. So when it comes down, it won't gouge or have any issues. That's exactly the spot for that. So I thought it was a great job, RIDGID, to have that extra little guide there. And of course you loosen it again, slide it, and then bring this back, and of course it will go back through. Another cool thing that RIDGID always does is it puts the tool on the machine. So anything that you're doing on your machine, there's usually a built-in tool. You have your screwdriver and as well as your Allen key. So it's built right in, so any adjustments on here for your blade, if you want to change your blade, it's very easy. You just raise your guard and there's a bolt there. So in order to get this free, you can see here there's even information to let you know which way to turn it. Free the blade. Of course there's a button you have to press, and that's on this side of the saw. So we'll come around here, and the button is right here. So you push this in, it locks the blade in place, and then you can use your hex key to loosen the bolt. So that's that part of the saw, and we haven't done our different adjustments for angles. So you have your bevel cuts, which we went over, everything on the back side, and the adjustments to bring the saw either way for bevel cuts. And if you want to do some miter cuts, this thing is very impressive. It does up to 70 degree. It does 45, no problem. So the 45 will stop here very easily. So on this, in order to get your saw to move, your fence, there is a lock button here. So that snaps up. You push in on this button here, and it moves your saw. So you can bring it to the 45. So in order to adjust our track on this saw, you can slide it all the way back so you can see the different features on the front here. And what this allows you to do is actually quite nice. There is your locking button, which snaps in place, locks it in the 45 or whatever degree for your cut. But if you want to move it, you can unclick it, press this button, or you can hold this button and push the side down, which is an override. So now I don't have to press this button anymore. I can just move the saw free, and there's no grabbing. I can get my degree that I want. If I'm going to 10, then I want to go to 25, very easy. And then as soon as I want that to disengage the override, I just put my finger in again, bring it up, and that's it. It's no longer in the override. And this has auto snap settings, your different degrees, and if you want to do a slight adjustment, you have to manually find it and then lock it in. So there's the 45 that we have it locked in, and we want to do a 70. So how do we do the 70 after we have this figured out? Well, it's pretty straightforward. Move this back a little bit. You can see that our fence has been adjusted. So when we bring this all the way over, it doesn't interfere with our cut. And there's a button on the inside. See if I can get that for you. There's a button on the inside that you press, and this hole, you can see a little bit better there. You press it in, and the whole table moves over out of the way, and then if you look there, there's your 70-degree. Beauty. So now that that piece is moved over, you can easily turn your saw, pressing the button, pivot it all the way over to the 70. Perfect. Locked in. So there's the 70-degree miter angle, and this saw, I can't speak highly enough about its cutting options. It is a very, very nice saw. It will do basically whatever you need it to do. Also, it's good to note this is a 12-inch cut. So from your inside of your fence to the edge, you can cut a 12-inch board, which is great, especially if you're doing like stair treads or wide pieces of pine. It's very easy to cut with this saw. All right, well, that's pretty much it for the features, although it's pretty extensive, I think, for what it can do. And yeah, so let's get into the hands-on. Okay, so we're going to do a little hands-on. Just before we do, I wanted to show you, so I got this back set up. I slid my fence back over on this side, so I have, it doesn't really matter because the low one's where your board's going to sit, but I just put that back. It's good to note this saw comes with a clamp, so there's a little hole on the back of the fence here, so you just slide your clamp in the hole and then you line it up. So say this is where you're going to cut your board, and you can see there the shadow line that I mentioned earlier. So your line on your board and then your shadow line. You can even see your carbide, like your tip of your teeth on that board, so you can get a really accurate cut. But before we do that, if you wanted to make sure this wouldn't move or just have that little extra stability, you can just tighten this up, tighten that up just perfect. So that's not going nowhere. Obviously, still have to hold it down with your hand. You can't just let it go and cut. I definitely wouldn't recommend that. A lot of times people will, now this is a preference thing, this isn't you know, a standard rule, but as a preference, a lot of people like to score the top, and especially if it's a meaty board, you like to score the top. Helps with the chipping. Also, it's a little bit less you know, pressure on the motor. So if you say you had a really high like a 4x4, for example, you can do a couple passes through the board itself. That way you're not biting into the entire board. So let's give this a shot, and you can see how well it cuts. I don't really care for the bag system. It doesn't collect. You'll see in a minute. It doesn't collect as well as it should, but you know, no saw is perfect. But all in all, it's really good. So I'm going to do a first cut right along the top, just to score it, and then I'm going to go back, down, and then all the way through. I also like, as a safety protocol, I always leave the blade down until it fully stops. That's very important, I think, because if the blade is turning and live and you pull it up, it can actually catch on your board. Not only can it move the board, but it can also chip your edging. So just kind of a safety tip there when it comes to cutting. Make sure that your blade is fully stopped before you remove the board or bring the blade back up. So yeah, there's a nice cut cuts beautifully. Another thing to note with your saw is you're going to want to make sure that it is accurate. So when you get it from Home Depot or wherever you buy it, you're going to want to make sure that this is a true 45 beveled edge. So you can check that with a speed square to make sure that that's a true 45. But if it's not, there's some adjustments on here. You can look into the manual. So yeah, that's a basic overall view of this saw and how it cuts. It's just a great saw. I can't speak highly enough about it. It does every single bevel, every single miter that you can ever think of, or at least for me in my shop. It works great. And of course, RIDGID, so you have your LSA that you can put in for, and you have a lifetime on this product and any defects or any issues that come along with this tool. Thanks for watching today's video. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to click the subscribe button below. And also, if you have any comments, something maybe I missed of this tool review or something you'd like to see, just leave some comments down below. And yeah, thanks for watching. And don't forget to check this video out here. Have a great day.